Hi guys, welcome back. We're going to do part 2 of section C today, which is a little bit more complicated, but we'll get through the basics, and then between class time and a couple additional videos, I think you'll get it down. Okay. So the whole topic of this second part of section C is something called meiosis, and meiosis is involved with the reproductive cells. So let's get some basic vocab down with that. First of all, asexual reproduction does not involve two parents. Okay, there's no gametes involved, which are those special sex cells that I'll define for you in just a minute. It's not there's no combining of DNA with asexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction doesn't necessarily imply sex, but it does require DNA from two different parents. Okay, and then that DNA gets combined. You get one set of DNA from each parent. There's different types of fertilization that we'll talk about that handles that, but ultimately it does involve DNA from both parents, one set from each parent. Gametes are the sex cells, okay? So for humans, well, and for animals in general, those sex cells are the egg and the sperm cell, okay? Now, because we have a certain number of chromosomes in our body already, those gametes have to have a reduced number because they're joining together in that process of fertilization. So if both of the gametes had the same number of chromosomes as a normal cell, when they join together, all of a sudden you would wind up with double the amount of chromosomes you needed. That's why we have this process of meiosis. Okay, fertilization is just those gametes coming together, and that can happen inside of the body or outside of the body. Again, we'll talk about that more at a later time. And then once that fertilization has taken place, once that DNA has combined, we call the cell a zygote then. Okay, so now we've got a zygote and it's back to the normal number of chromosomes. Okay, so there was 1/2 the amount of chromosomes in each of those gametes. When they join together, we're back to the normal amount. Okay, a couple more vocab words. We've got diploid and haploid. Diploid is what we have in the body cells, the normal body cells, not the sex cells. Okay, each body cell has two complete sets of chromosomes. So there's 46 total chromosomes, 23 pairs. So you've got 23 different chromosomes in your body, and there's a pair of each of those for a total of 46 chromosomes in all of your cells besides the sex cells. Those are known as diploid cells. They're labeled with this 2N. Okay, haploid are just the gametes. That's just the sperm and the egg cells, and they only have one set of chromosomes. So instead of a pair, there's just one for each of the 23 chromosomes. Okay, one single chromosome representing each of the 23 chromosomes. So it reduces that number in half. Homologous chromosomes are that pair. Okay, so you can see these pairs right here. Whatever genes are found on those chromosomes would be found on both of those chromosomes. So you still have all the chromosomes represented with just that single set in the haploid cells. It's just that homologous pairing is kind of a duplicate set. That will come into play when we actually start talking about genetics next chapter, okay? All right, so meiosis. Simply, meiosis is the process that reduces that number of chromosomes for the gametes, okay? So remember, with regular mitosis, we wind up with an identical copy. So we start off with the 46 chromosomes or the 23 pairs. I know it gets confusing. Those get copied, and then you have two brand new cells with that same number, okay? Meiosis ultimately is going to cut that number in half. So meiosis goes through what looks like normal cell division twice, okay? And you can see that we've got the prophase, the metaphase, the anaphase, the telophase, and the cytokinesis twice, and they're just indicated with a 1 or a 2 after it, okay? Interphase still happens, but only here. Okay, so that copying and that growing phase still happens before prophase 1, but those homologous chromosomes line up like this. In mitosis, the chromosomes just line up in a row and then they get split apart, okay? In meiosis, those homologous pairs stick together and then they get separated from each other. There's some other stuff that happens while they're next to each other. It's called crossing over. Don't worry about it right now. We'll go over that in a different video. Anaphase, you get pulled apart. Telophase, the nuclear membrane starts to reform, and then cytokinesis, okay? So we've got a little bit of a mix of the chromosomes that we started with, okay? But we're still at the diploid status. We still haven't cut them in half, okay? So from here, we go straight into prophase. We don't go through interphase again, and so there's not a copying of the chromosomes, all right? And then these steps are very similar to normal mitosis. The chromosomes line up on the equator, and then those chromatids are split. And so what you wind up with after both of these, sets of anaphase, prophase, metaphase, and whatever, you wind up with 4 haploid cells, okay? So you start with 1 diploid cell, and in this picture, you see the 2N, that means diploid, and the number was 4 chromosomes, okay? Down here, we're just at N, that means haploid, and the number is 2 chromosomes, okay? So we've cut that number in half. So this could be 4 sperm cells or 4 egg cells, and then eventually, whichever gamete it is will meet up with the other gamete, and so that will get us back to the proper number of chromosomes, okay? So let's do a quick comparison between the two. They both start with interphase. Mitosis only has 1 division though, okay? Meiosis goes through 2 divisions. Meiosis divides twice, but it only replicates that DNA once. So it only goes through interphase, the very, very beginning. Once it goes through that first division, it does not copy itself again, okay? Mitosis results in 2 identical daughter cells, okay? These are the identical daughter cells, and there's the same number of chromosomes in those as what you started with, okay? And those are all considered diploid cells. Whereas meiosis results in 4 haploid gametes, okay? And they only have half the number of chromosomes. Super complicated. I've got a bunch of different videos to show you in addition, so make sure you watch all those. Make sure you ask lots of questions in class, and we'll get there, okay? And that's all for section C, part 2. See you later.